Okay, we're going to work on example 3 and 4 now. So in example 3, notice that this is definitely quadratic form because my last term is a constant and 4/3 is double 2/3. So I'm going to use substitution and set this up as if it were a quadratic equation and solve from there. So I'm going to say, let u squared be equal to x to the 4/3. Now to solve that for u, I have to square root both sides. And when I square root both sides, I get x to the 2/3 is equal to u. And so now I can do my substitutions. So where I see x to the 4/3, I'm going to replace it with u squared. And where I see x to the 2/3, I'm going to replace it with u. Now I can solve this by factoring or quadratic formula, however you prefer. I prefer factoring. So I have u minus 3 times u minus 2. That will give me u squared minus 5u plus 6. So u is 3 and u is 2. We're not done yet though because the equation wants us to solve for x. And we've only solved for u at this point. So I have to go back in and find out what x is. Well, we said that u is equal to x to the 2/3. So since u is 3 or u is 2, I'm going to set each of those equal and come up with my two little mini equations. Now, to solve for x to the 2/3, to get rid of that 2/3 and solve for x, I am going to raise both sides to the power of 3/2. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So now I have x here because x to the 2/3 raised to the 3/2. When I raise a power to a power, I multiply. So 2/3 times 3/2 gives me x to the first. And I get 3 to the 3/2. If I want to put that in root form, remember the bottom number of a rational exponent is your root. So this is saying this is the square root of 27 because you have 3 to the 3rd, and then I take the square root. Just a review of exponent rules here. Okay, so I have x to the 2/3 raised to the 3/2. That leaves me just x to the first. And then 2 raised to the 3/2, that means it's the square root of 8 because I raised 2 to the 3rd and then I square root it. Now if I wanted to continue simplifying that, that would be 2 square roots of 2. And this would be 3 square roots of 3. Okay, last example. For this substitution, it's already got a squared here. And this is to the first. So this is what I want to be u. So I want u squared to be equal to x plus 5 squared, which means u has to be x plus 5. So now I replace, everywhere I see x plus 5, I replace it with u. So I have u squared minus 3u minus 10 is equal to 0. This I can factor. I can rewrite this as u minus 5 times u plus 2. So that means u is going to be 5 and u is going to be negative 2. So now to go back in and finish solving for x, I have to go back and figure out what x is based on our substitution. We said u is equal to x plus 5. And we said our two possibilities for u are 5 and negative 2. So I'm going to set up my two mini equations. So I have 5 is equal to x plus 5. And I have negative 2 is equal to x plus 5. Which means x has to be negative 7 or x has to be 0. And then you can go back in and check your answers.